Two stocks quietly slipped into my portfolio this week, and neither one is a name most people are talking about right now. One of them is tied to a shift in advertising that most investors still don't fully understand, and the other is building hardware for an industry that has been controlled by the same handful of players for decades. By the time this video ends, you'll know exactly which two companies I'm talking about, why I bought them, and why I think both could look completely different 5 years from now. If you're the kind of investor who likes getting ahead of moves before they become obvious to everyone else, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now, because Tickerhawk puts out breakdowns like this one every single week, and you don't want to miss the next one. Here's something worth remembering before we even get into the names. There are more than 4,000 publicly traded companies sitting on US exchanges, and every single trading day, money has to choose where it goes. So when I decide to put new cash into the market, I try not to treat it casually. I'm not chasing a stock because it might pop next week or because some headline made it trend on social media for a day. The two positions I added recently were picked because I believe 5 to 10 years from now, both companies could be running a much bigger business than they are today. That's the lens I want you to use as we go through this, because short-term price action is noisy, but the direction of a business over several years is usually much easier to read. Think about how many times you've watched a stock get dragged down simply because it was sitting in the wrong sector at the wrong time, even though nothing about the actual business had changed. That happens far more often than people realize, and honestly, some of the best entry points I've ever found came from exactly that kind of mispricing. A good business doesn't stop being a good business just because the rest of its sector is having a bad quarter. That's precisely the setup I found with both of today's names, and once you see the numbers behind them, I think you'll understand why I was comfortable stepping in. Let's start with the first one, and this is a company that a lot of people still picture the wrong way. For years, this business was known mainly as a mobile gaming platform, the kind of company you'd associate with app downloads and casual games on your phone. That's not what it is anymore. It has quietly turned itself into one of the more interesting AI-driven advertising businesses in the market, and its technology now helps advertisers place ads more efficiently, not just inside games, but across a growing number of digital channels. The output is simple to understand, even if the technology behind it isn't. Advertisers get better returns on their ad spend, the apps and platforms showing those ads earn more, and the whole system gets smarter the more data flows through it. That kind of setup, where a platform becomes more valuable the more it's used, is exactly the type of business model that tends to compound over time. I'm talking about AppLovin, ticker APP, and if you followed software stocks at all this year, you already know it's had a rough stretch. Shares are down more than 40% from their highs, and honestly, that's not unique to this one name. A big chunk of the software sector got hit hard heading into the middle of this year, and while a few names have started clawing their way back, plenty of good businesses are still trading well below where they were. I think AppLovin belongs in that second group, a strong business that's been dragged down along with a weak sector, rather than a company with something fundamentally broken. One thing I want to flag clearly before you rush out and buy shares yourself, this company reports earnings very soon, and that means there's real short-term risk around the print. I'm not telling you to ignore that. In fact, that's exactly why I only started with a partial position, instead of going all in right away. If the stock drops after earnings for reasons that don't actually damage the long-term story, that's when I'd look to add more. Patience matters here just as much as conviction. Now let's talk about why I like the business itself, because this part matters more than any single earnings report. One thing I always check before buying a stock is whether the company can grow its profits faster than its revenue. That's called operating leverage, and it's one of the clearest signs that a business is becoming more efficient as it scales. This company has been doing exactly that. Revenue has climbed to a fresh record, profits from operations have hit new highs alongside it, and operating margins are sitting north of 75%, which is an extraordinary number for any business, let alone one still growing this fast. Free cash flow tells a similar story. We're talking about margins north of 70%, meaning for every dollar that comes in the door, after covering expenses and reinvesting in the business, roughly 70 cents turns into cash. The company can use however it wants: buybacks, new investments, or just building up the balance sheet. For context, a free cash flow margin above 20% is usually considered strong for most businesses. This company is more than triple that. There's a bigger trend at play here too. Artificial intelligence isn't just making individual ads perform better, it's reshaping the economics of digital advertising as a whole. As more ad dollars move online and companies keep expanding their digital budgets, the platforms that can prove better results are the ones that keep winning market share. That's the position this company is in right now, and it's part of why I think the next several years could look very different from the last few. Of course, nothing here is risk-free. A slowdown in the broader economy could pressure ad budgets industry-wide. though right now the economy still looks fairly stable. Competition in digital advertising remains fierce. And after a run like this stock has had over the past couple of years, the valuation leaves less room for error, which means continued execution really matters going forward. There's also the simple reality that a company growing this fast and trading at margins this high naturally attracts skeptics who think the numbers can't hold up forever. Maybe they're right eventually, but for now the trend keeps pointing in the same direction, quarter after quarter. And that's what I'm choosing to pay attention to rather than the noise around it. Weighing all of that against the growth story, I still think this is a name worth owning for the long haul. On valuation, shares are trading at under 19 times forward earnings with growth, expected north of 30% next year. That combination gives you a very reasonable price relative to growth, and Wall Street analysts seem to agree, with average price targets suggesting more than 60% upside from current levels. It's a name that's gotten lumped in with a struggling sector this year, but the underlying business tells a very different story than the stock chart does. All right, before we move to stock number 2, do me a favor. Let's move to the second stock. And this one takes us out of advertising and straight into space. I'm talking about Rocket Lab, ticker RKLB, and this has been one of the wildest rides in my portfolio over the past year. About 12 months ago, I put out a video talking about stocks that could double over the next few years, and this was one of them. What happened next was almost hard to believe. Within months, the stock had rocketed more than 200% higher. But if you only looked at the 12-month return today, you'd see something like 45%, which sounds solid until you realize just how much ground was given back after that peak. So what happened? Shares cratered more than 50% from their highs starting in early summer, and the timing lines up almost perfectly with a certain high-profile space company going public around that same time. When a massive headline-grabbing IPO hits the market, a lot of retail money gets pulled out of related stocks to chase the new listing. That's exactly what appears to have happened here. Nothing about the actual business changed. Contracts kept getting signed, missions kept flying, and revenue kept climbing. The stock just got caught in a wave of investors rotating their cash elsewhere, and that kind of disconnect between price and business performance is usually where opportunity shows up. I know it can feel uncomfortable buying something that's fallen 50% from its highs. Our instinct as investors is usually to wait until the chart looks calmer before stepping in. But if you wait for the chart to look perfect, you almost always end up paying more for the same business. What actually matters is whether the reasons you like the company in the first place are still true, and in this case, they clearly are. The mission count kept growing, the customer list kept expanding, and none of the long-term catalysts disappeared just because a competitor grabbed the spotlight for a few weeks. Most people hear space stock and immediately picture rocket launches, but that's only part of what this company actually does now. There are really 3 engines driving this business. The first is small satellite launches through its established rocket program, which has already flown dozens of missions. The second is a much larger rocket currently in development, one that would open up a far bigger market by allowing heavier payloads and more ambitious missions. That rocket is targeted to fly for the first time before the end of this year, though anyone who's followed this story knows that timelines in the space industry tend to slip, and this one has already been pushed back before. The third engine, and honestly the one that surprises people most, is the space systems side of the business, things like satellite components, solar arrays, flight software, and guidance systems used by both government and commercial customers. A lot of today's revenue actually comes from this segment rather than from launches themselves, which tells you this isn't just a rocket company anymore. It's becoming a broader space infrastructure business. On the numbers, trailing 12-month revenue sits close to $680 million, with expectations to push toward $920 million by the end of this year and past $1.3 billion the year after. That kind of growth trajectory, especially with a bigger rocket program potentially unlocking larger government and commercial contracts, is a big part of why I'm willing to be patient here. The broader backdrop helps too. Governments around the world keep increasing spending tied to national security and space capability. And there's been movement towards speeding up commercial space licensing, which benefits every launch provider in this space, not just the biggest name in the room. Commercial satellite demand keeps growing as well, since satellite constellations need constant replacement and expansion. Estimates put the overall space economy on track to approach nearly $2 trillion within the next decade, and that number could easily move higher from here. None of this comes without real risk, though. Execution is everything in this industry. Rocket development is expensive. Timelines slip constantly, and this company isn't expected to turn consistently profitable until sometime around the end of 2027. That means more volatility is almost guaranteed between now and then. Competition from larger, better-funded players in the space industry isn't going away either. But if the larger rocket program executes even reasonably well, this company moves from competing mainly for smaller contracts to competing for much bigger missions, and that's a completely different growth story than the one investors were pricing in a year ago. One thing that gives me comfort holding through the volatility is the balance sheet. The company is sitting on well over $1 billion in cash against a relatively small amount of debt, which means it has real runway to keep funding growth without desperately needing to raise money on unfavorable terms. Analysts, on average, see more than 70% upside from current price levels, and even the target sits below the stock's 52-week high, which tells you just how sharp this pullback has actually been. So why these two names together? On the surface, an AI-powered advertising business and a rocket company couldn't look more different. But they share the traits I look for in every long-term growth pick: large and expanding markets, management, teams that are actually executing rather than just talking, strong revenue growth, and multiple paths for earnings to keep climbing over the next several years. I didn't buy either one expecting a quick pop next month. I bought them because I think both businesses could be meaningfully bigger 5 years from now than they are today. That said, let's be honest about risk, because every single stock we've talked about today can move against you. Neither of these is going to move in a straight line, and there will almost certainly be stretches of real volatility with both. That's simply part of owning high-growth companies. And if that kind of swing makes you uncomfortable, position sizing matters even more than stock picking. I'm not suggesting either of these should be a massive chunk of anyone's portfolio, myself included. They're pieces of a bigger picture, not the whole picture, and how much you allocate should always match your own tolerance for risk, your time horizon, and what else you already hold. What works for my portfolio isn't automatically the right fit for yours, and that's worth remembering every time you watch a video like this one, from me or from anyone else covering the market. I'll also say this: watching quarterly numbers roll in over the next year is going to matter a lot more than anything happening day to day in either stock. If AppLovin keeps expanding its advertising reach while holding on to those incredible margins, the thesis only gets stronger. If Rocket Lab's larger rocket program finally gets off the ground successfully, that unlocks a tier of contracts this company simply couldn't compete for before. Those are the milestones I'll be watching closely, and I plan on covering both of them again as new numbers come out, so you're not just getting a one-time take and then silence for the next 6 months. Before you go, I want to hear from you directly. If you had fresh cash sitting in your account right now, which one would you put it into first? The advertising story or the space story? Or is there a completely different stock sitting at the top of your watch list that you think deserves more attention than either of these? Drop it in the comments, because I genuinely read through them, and some of the best ideas for future videos come straight from what you all are watching closely. If this video gave you a clearer picture of either of these companies, share it with someone who's been asking you where to put new money right now. Hit that like button so this reaches more people searching for the same answers. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Ticker Hawk so you don't miss the next breakdown. I'll be back soon with more, and until then, take care of your portfolio.